What up? I'm Jake Palumbo. Finally got a haircut, and this is how to be rich when you're not famous.
I'm Jake Palumbo. I'm a scrub from Tennessee who moved to New York City 12 years ago with about as much chance of making it in the music industry as a farmer has trying to grow corn in Afghanistan. I'm just like you. I had no money, no connects in the music industry. The difference between me and my peers who were trying to break in at the same time is I didn't quit like a little bit. Instead, I set out to decode the codes and to build my little dirt empire one brick at a time. Since the front door to the music industry was locked, I decided I was gonna find a way to break in through the back window. In 2018, I'm still not famous, but I am happy to report that I'm a few months shy of a decade of surviving off just my career as a producer, engineer, and artist. I'd like to share with you some of the things I've learned, as well as my core philosophies, as well as have an outlet to vent so I don't strangle somebody to death. I'm Jake Palumbo, and this is how to be rich when you're not famous.
Some of y'all might have noticed there was no show last week. And that was not on purpose. Actually did tape an episode, and I spent about 2 hours taping and about 9 to 10 hours of editing. And by that point, I only had it cut down to about 30 minutes. I talked for a very long time. As simple as this show is, with one camera angle and, not a lot of high production value, it takes a while. The average time from when I start filming to where there's a live link ready for you to view, between filming time, importing the clips into Final Cut Pro, actually doing the editing, rendering the clip, taking that movie, importing it into Pro Tools to add the audio and the instrumentals to my songs so I can put Content ID on those, bouncing that final clip out, the upload time, from start to finish. One of these low budget, one camera angle, low production value episodes take about 13 or 14 hours from the time I start to the time it's able for you to watch. So last week I was just extremely busy. We filmed a music video clip off my upcoming solo project. Me and El the Sensei from the Artifacts got in the studio to work on trying to finish up our long-awaited collaboration LP. And it was just a lot going on. With respect to the fact that I've said that these episodes will drop every Wednesday, I'm going to keep it a buck with you. As busy as I am right now, we are still going to drop one episode per week. But, it's going to be sometime between Wednesday and Friday. I'm not exactly sure when, but trust me, when they're here and they're ready, you will get the notification about it. So I'm going to take all this footage that I shot and I'm going to split it up into a 2-part episode called There's No Money in Music. There's no money in music. What I'm going to do is I'm going to break down the 7 streams of income that I personally have as an artist and producer. Now, we are not going to factor in the income that I make as an engineer, because it's too many zeros. It's just too much money to fit on the screen. We're going to treat engineering as if it were my day job, which it is, but we're going to treat it as if it was no different than, I was a truck driver, I worked at a restaurant, I sold insurance, I sold weed, whatever you do to put food on the table. We're going to treat this as if we have a steady income coming from another gig. And in part 2 next week, I'm going to break down what I actually earned in real numbers on a good month and a bad month, with receipts wherever possible, in an attempt to show you that earning a living off being a musician is not dead. And while you may have to find other means to bring in income, especially if you have a family or a mortgage or things of that nature, you may have to chase down numerous smaller sources, and show you that over a 12-month period, over a period of years, if my little underground unpopular ass can do it, so can you. Day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, I kind of hear a lot of the same discussions in these social media streets, and they kind of tend to all revolve around, a similar school of thought. And it's usually a discussion along the lines of, there's no money in music anymore. People don't support. Streaming has ruined it for everybody.
It's easy to ignore for a little bit, but after a while it gets kind of frustrating to read. Let's start with the first part of that complaint. There's no money in music anymore. Now, in the traditional sense, as we were led to believe in the 60s through the 90s, the days of being discovered because of your talent and a record label or some sort of corporation cutting a large check that suddenly changes your life overnight, those days are essentially over. The record industry has taken too many financial hits to blindly throw millions of dollars at projects that have not already proven on their own that they're able to generate income. Now, if you're willing to get your hands dirty, if you're willing to put some sweat equity into the matter, if you're willing to chase down the various different streams of income that are available to an independent artist these days, then you can make a living, or at the very least supplement your income off your art and doing something that you really love. I hope you love it, because if you don't love it, there's no reason to go through all this headache. Pretty much any financial expert will always use the term diversify your portfolio. They're basically saying that it's a lot safer and more secure in the long term to have numerous different things that bring in income. On the grounds that, if you have a month or a year where one of those is slow, the other things help to pick up some of the slack, and you're not solely dependent on just that one thing. Now, let's be real. Rapping and making beats does not count for my full-time income. I wish it did, because, those aspects are the most fun to me. Okay, so there's no shame, nothing is wrong if you have to have a day job or another source of income. That's fine, I do too. Pretty much everybody knows I work as a recording, mixing, and mastering engineer. Now, mind you, being an engineer is tied into the music business, and I'm blessed to have my day job be tied into the music business, and the skills that I use at my job help me tremendously in my own production and my own music. But let's look at the variety of different ways to monetize our music that are available to me as well as you. Okay, number one, we've got the digital and physical sales of my music, which is my music being available on iTunes, Amazon, Bandcamp, all the available online retailers, as well as being available on all streaming services, Apple Music, Spotify. We receive money every time our music is purchased, whether it's on an online retailer, whether it's on physical CD, and those are called mechanical royalties. Those are royalties off the actual purchase and consumption of your music as a product. Currently, my record label, SpaceLAB Recordings, is distributed by Soul Spasm Records. We signed a distribution deal with them about a year and a half ago. But prior to that, as far back as 2007, when I used to date a girl who worked there when they were a brand new company, my music was distributed online via TuneCore. There's also CD Baby, there's DistroKid, there's a whole bunch of different aggregators, digital distribution services that are available where you pay a one-time or an annual fee to host your music on all these retailers. So even if you don't have a deal with a distributor or another label, you can still get really good digital distribution worldwide for not a lot of money. Now, as most people know, you get a much larger payout from the sales of your music than you do from the streaming of your music. Well, immediately up front, yes, getting $8 for a digital download of an album or getting a $10 profit for the sales of a CD, while that is a bigger payout and we do want that, the streaming royalties, I think time will tell, will maybe pay as much or a little more over time, depending on how consumed your music is. Okay, so there's the actual sales and streaming of your music. That's one, mechanical royalties. Number two, I sell merchandise. I invest a little bit of money to get t-shirts printed up, to get coffee mugs printed up, to get, we've had refrigerator magnets, we've had hats, there's all types of different swag, as they call it. Back in the day, that was the actual term for merch in the music industry. They called it swag. But by pressing up swag, that's something that you can not only sell to your fan base, but every person walking around in a SpaceLAB t-shirt or a Jake Palumbo t-shirt, or your face on a t-shirt, or your team's logo on a t-shirt, Every person that walks around with your shirt on is a walking advertisement for who you are and what you do. So merch kind of pays off twofold in that you do make money from the sale of it, but you're also attracting new potential customers, because if somebody walks out to the store or to the McDonald's or wherever they're at and they're wearing a shirt with your logo on it and they run into their friend, you know, their friend's inevitably going to say, hey, who's that on your shirt? Okay, so that's 2. Number 3, I do shows. And, you know, shows can highly vary. There's shows I get paid $500 for. There's shows I get paid $100 for. There's shows I do for free. I love to perform. Like, it's a huge adrenaline rush. It's a lot of fun. And it's also one of the number one ways that I make new fans, because people who see me walk into the building oftentimes might think I'm the sound man or something. In a future episode, we're going to get into shows and how I go about trying to get shows, and, you know, in the midst of the fact that it's really tough to get shows these days. But shows are a very mixed bag. There's so many different factors that go into the business of a show. It could be, how far away is it? Can I hop on the subway and be home in 30 minutes? Or does getting to the show require a flight or a bus or getting somebody to drive me? Is the person throwing the show one of my friends? Or is it strictly business with somebody I don't know? So many different factors go into it, but I love to perform. So for the most part, I'll take any reasonable offer on a show if it makes sense. Okay, number 4, I'm also a producer. I make beats. I love to make beats. Making beats is the most funnest part of this entire thing to me. A lot of beats I keep on the side for myself or for the other projects I'm working on. And, you know, the remainder of the beats that I make are for sale, for artists who like my production and would like to include it on their project. Now, in the past, I usually just did these transactions one-on-one with the artist, and to this day, that's still the way I like to do it. I like to sit down with the artist, play you beats, see what you're feeling, and go from there. But, you know, within the last few months, I've also recently started a BeatStars page, you know, because I'm like, I have literally over 100 beats. After putting to the side the beats that I needed, I still had over 100 beats left over. So why not throw those online? They're doing me no good sitting on my hard drive. And, you know, I could price them affordably to sell. And if somebody wants to work with me and I don't necessarily have time to get in the studio with them, they can go to my page, preview the tracks at their leisure, and add it to cart. There's a pre-built-in contract in the checkout process that says, you know, I need to be listed as produced by Jake Palumbo. Here's my publishing information, blah, blah, blah. I'm a producer. I have beats. That's another potential stream of income for me. Okay, number 5, ASCAP royalties. Now, ASCAP is the American Society of Composers, Publishers, and Authors. You've probably seen the word ASCAP in a lot of album credits over the years. You've seen BMI as well. One company is not better than the other, in my opinion. It's Coke versus Pepsi. They both do the same thing. But as an artist, if you have music that is commercially released, and especially music that is getting any kind of broadcast airplay, you need to register all your songs with ASCAP or BMI. You know, pick the one you like. This is one thing that a lot of artists neglect and miss out on potential money, because every time a radio station plays your song, they are required to pay a licensing fee, and some of that licensing fee is owed and entitled to the songwriters and the publishers of the song. Now, I'm registered with ASCAP both as a songwriter, because I write and produce my own songs, I write my own lyrics, I write my own music via making the beat, and I'm also registered as a publisher because I publish my own music. I paid $50 to register as a writer, I paid $50 to register as a publisher. And because of that, and by taking the time to do the mundane data entry to put all the information of you know, all these songs that I have out, anytime those songs are played on terrestrial radio or college radio, or they're played in a jukebox, or, you know, they're shown on television, by taking the time to make sure that all those songs were in the ASCAP database, every time they are broadcast, those royalties will automatically be directed into my account without me having to do anything other than take the couple hours to sit and register all the music I have. Now, I have a lot of music, so it took me a while, but I promise you it's worth the time. Again, going back to being an artist, another stream of income for most artists, especially rappers, where collaborations and doing features on different people's projects is a lucrative stream of income at times. I personally have invested money into getting some of my favorite rappers on my projects in the past for two reasons. One, because these were artists I looked up to and respected and wanted to do songs with, but also them appearing on it, helped add legitimacy to my project. Now, I don't think you should bankrupt yourself buying features. You shouldn't spend $20,000 on a feature. I don't care if it's from Drake, because he's probably not going to be in the music video and help you promote the song. But, if an artist is charging a reasonable price for their features, it's oftentimes not a bad investment. Now, you as an artist have the same ability to sell that same service. And as you as an artist begin to increase your own stock value, and as your words begin to mean a little bit more because of the buzz that is building behind your music, then you can, in some cases, commandeer a good feature price. Now, other artists like to keep their feature price affordable so that they can work regularly. I tend to fall into that second category. But either way, if you're an artist and you like to rap, and unless the song is just absurdly terrible and is going to make you look bad, selling features and guest appearances is another potential stream of income. And last but not least, this is the one that I got up on the most recently, and that is Sound Exchange royalties. Sound Exchange performs a similar service that ASCAP and BMI perform, and that is, by registering your songs in their database via the song's ISRC codes. And we will do a future episode about the importance of ISRC codes and the many different things that those codes can do for you. Sound Exchange, when you register your music in their database, they do the same thing basically that ASCAP and BMI does, in that they retrieve royalties from the broadcast and spins of your music. It collects from internet radio, from satellite radio, Sirius XM and all the major satellite stations. It collects from podcasts that use your music. It collects from those platforms. You need to have your ASCAP and BMI registered, and you also need to have your Sound Exchange registered. There's so many different ways to broadcast your music now, and so many different means that people consume your music, that you need to be registered with all of them so that you stand the largest chance of casting a wide net and pulling in every little penny that is owed to you. Now, pennies do add up to dollars over time if you're able to retrieve all of them. And if you have either a loyal fan base that really supports what you do, it does not have to be a large number of people. You could monetize a fan base of 2,000 people, and if you delivered them enough product, they define a true fan as somebody who checks for everything that you put out. So, you could have 2,000 fans, and if you keep them well fed enough with content that they want to consume and purchase, you could survive off of that.
Okay, so that is a good time to take a break. We appreciate everybody tuning in. We will be back next week with the exciting conclusion, part 2, and we will break down what your boy actually took in as an artist and producer on a good month and a bad month, to kind of show you the range and show you what can be possible over a period of months or years if you have fans, if you nurture them, and if you work smart. All right, thanks for tuning in. I'm Jake Palumbo, and this is How to Be Rich When You're Not Famous.